Casie.
Very good.
Let's take a minute. I'm tired, man. That's a lot. We've been busy. Okay. So getting my bearings with technology here this morning. First, I just want to say I'm new to Talk Shop. This is my first visit, but all I can say is, wow, what a great group you all are. And I'm so grateful to be here with you this morning to share a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and something that I'm very passionate about. So this is a topic that profoundly affects millions, many of which are near and dear to you guys, or maybe some of you right here in this room. Truly, guys, as you'll see, I'm on a mission today. You'll see that this is not just about missing sound. It has significant ramifications on our brain health and our quality of life at any age. I'll say it again, at any age. Okay, so today, as we delve deeper, I invite you to look for ways you can join me in this important work, because it's an issue that can touch people we love and at almost every facet of our lives. I'll invite you also to consider how we can collectively raise awareness, promote accessibility, remove the stigma. We'll say it again, remove the stigma and support those who are navigating the complexities of a decreased hearing. So as ML kindly stated, I'll transition slides here. I am Dr. Casie Keaton, founder and CEO of Thrive Hearing and Tinnitus Solutions. Tinnitus works too. I'm also on faculty at the University of Memphis, go Tigers, in the Department of Communication Disorders and Sciences. And I do feel I have to be blessed with one of the most rewarding professions on planet Earth. I view my vocation as one of restoration, to guide people in gaining what they have lost. I'm extremely passionate about the work we get to do and who we get to do it for. So Thrive was founded in 2013. We have locations here 3 minutes from here in East Memphis, as well as Collierville. But it was founded with the conviction that everyone deserves access to world-class care. At Thrive, we offer the most innovative, effective, and clinically proven treatment options for communication disorders, because you deserve nothing less. Our patients thrive because we help them to navigate and overcome the challenges they face as a result of hearing disorders. And achieving exceptional results for our patients drives everything we do. And I could not be more proud to work alongside a team of women who share that same vision. So careful not getting on the feelings. Okay. All right. So to take us into this talk, we'll head on. In addition to those lovely women you saw on the last slide, I want to introduce you to some of my people. So these are the people that make my world go round. And how I connect to each of these people is everything to me. So now it's your turn. I want you to hold in your mind all the special and precious people that make up the fabric of your life. Okay, got them? Sweet peas? Okay. So these are the people that light you up, that make you cackle and laugh, that you can't wait to hug, see them smile, connect. Okay, now let's take them all to a noisy restaurant. Okay, so maybe it's one of their birthdays. Imagine yourself sitting there, surrounded by the conversation, being held by all those people that mean the most to you. And suddenly you have this overwhelming feeling of being trapped in a muffled bubble. You're catching fragments of the conversation, bits and pieces. The more you strain to hear, the more you retreat into that bubble, feeling increasingly anxious, isolated, and disconnected. Yikes. So untreated hearing loss can absolutely make social situations exhausting and beyond frustrating for both parties, leading to a sense of loneliness and a lot of times social withdrawal. But I would implore you guys to hold on because it's so much bigger than that. There is a far more sinister force at work in our loss of cognition and cognitive function. So losing touch with the world around us, which we'll connect the dots to shortly. So with that, this is where we work together. So from what you learned today, I want you to check in on people, check in on yourselves so that no one has to ever feel that way. Because again, like I said, great news, there's hope. I want you to come away from our time together with action items that put you in the driver's seat when it comes to your hearing health. So first, together we'll lay the groundwork with a discussion on the science of hearing. Riveting. Buckle up, guys. Okay. After that, we will describe, or I will, the role of hearing health in our overall brain health. And just to go ahead and call the elephant out in the room, I'm talking dementia. I'm talking Parkinson's. And my aim is to arm you with the information so that we can remove the fear surrounding these diseases and take a proactive approach. So what's amazing is now we have definitive research that provides us with a clear blueprint to change the courses of these diseases. Did you know about that? I mean, we can change, we can offset the course of these problems. So for me, that's incredibly exciting. So my job has changed tremendously. I love it. So let's begin with the data. Okay, basically, lots and lots and lots and lots of people experience hearing loss. Huge numbers across the world. And as much as 75% of those people who have hearing loss have difficulty hearing in noise. How many of you can relate to that? Right? Go out to dinner, you're hanging on, trying to hang in there, check out, right? Okay. So it's important that we note here that when we talk about these negative stats, I like to stay positive, but this is the facts. We're referring to untreated hearing loss. So this is hearing loss that's been identified where nothing has been done about it, right? So not just that you have hearing loss, but you haven't done anything about it. It's a far different picture. Okay, so the first action item on your list is get a hearing test. How many of you had a hearing test? Yeah, all right, okay. So it's easy peasy. It takes 15 minutes to get a medical grade hearing exam from an audiologist. The best defense is what? Good offense. So sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So let's get the info so that we can determine what you need to do next. All right, now time to debunk some myths. Okay. So starting with, you have to be old to have hearing loss. Wrong. Sorry, wrong. As many as 1 in 8 children have hearing loss. In our practice, we see people of all ages. This is not about how many birthdays you've had the privilege of having on this planet. This has everything to do with noise exposure. That's the #1 leading cause of hearing loss. And what I say is it's a lot of times how much fun we've had. We wouldn't change that. We just got to fix it. And then our genetics. Some of us are just going to have better hearing than others. It's the cards we're dealt. All kinds of medical issues are like that. But it is not about your birthday. You do not have to be old, and you are not old if you notice changes to your hearing, and you are by no means alone. Okay, so now one of my favorite topics, guys. Allow me. Let's get into how we hear. So I find that just starting with a good foundation of how our auditory system works helps us to connect the dots to everything else. So quick overview here. Okay, so as we know, sound is vibration, travels through the air, travels down the ear canal, hits the eardrum. If it is normal and healthy and intact, which most people's are, it seals off the ear canal from the rest of the structures in the auditory system. So that's important because particularly when it comes to tinnitus, you might see a lot of these, fly-by-night remedies, drops, and different things you can put down in your ear. Tinnitus happens way over here. So those drops don't even come close. So save your money. Okay. All right. Behind the eardrum, there's a chain of bones that forms a bridge to the hearing nerve. So there's part of your hearing that's mechanical energies. Those structures have to be in place and send the message. And then once we get to the nerve, that's where the brain picks up, and that's where the real work is done. And it's a beautiful, complex process where all those pieces have to be in place and work together and get the message to the brain. Okay, feel good about that? All right. I digress. Okay, so let's catch up here. Okay, so now let's next take a moment to talk about the profound shift within the hearing healthcare landscape and how we got to where we are today. For decades, we well understood the havoc hearing loss can wreak on a person's quality of life, resulting in social isolation. And if you can see this poor girl, she made me very sad when I saw this picture. Think about it. As a person's communication ability decreases, their world gets smaller. So I won't go to that meeting, is what somebody might say, or I'm going to stay home from that party. I won't go to dinner with them. I can't hear them anyway. And that's how it starts. So that's detrimental in its own right. But now, and I'm talking, this is cutting edge stuff, guys. We have compelling research that points to the strong correlation between untreated hearing loss, there's the word again, and healthy cognition. So let's set the scene. All right. Early part of my career was just like, I don't know, 6 months or so ago, just kidding. I would see patients with suspected hearing loss that I would also notice having significant difficulty recalling recent medical history, recent tests, diagnosis that have been done, or the amount of time it would take them to recall or the correct information was pretty concerning to me. So they may also present with a flat affect, no smile, tough to break through that exterior, no cues to their personality. And I love to get to know people and how I can help them best. So that was always really challenging. And I would be left there wondering, just who's this person sitting in front of me? So there's also the challenge of separating how much I thought was decreased hearing and then what was decreased cognition. Where did one end and the other one begin? So at that time, with no way to measure cognition, I would move forward with the tools I had and the testing I had and hope for the best. That with well-fit hearing devices, the hope is that the lights will come on and my concerns of cognition would dissipate. That's the hope. Fingers crossed. Switch on there. The amazing thing was, though, so very often, what I would describe, the clouds would lift, and wow, much like magic, I'd have a whole new person sitting in front of me once we fit hearing aids. So how I describe it is the veil of hearing loss would be lifted, and I could actually get to see who I was meant to see sitting in front of me, the best version of themselves. So talk about beautiful. But thankfully today, having much more sophisticated measures of cognitive testing available to us, the hope and see days are long behind us. So we can apply a much more scientific approach to measuring cognition and separating the effects of hearing loss. And here's why. So we'll go back to that one, I'm sorry. Landmark study, 2008, Johns Hopkins presented data with the strong link between the degree of hearing loss and the risk of developing dementia. So as the degree of hearing loss increases, so does the risk of having dementia. And then further to that, data as recent, go now, as this year, the Lancet, which is one of the most prestigious medical journals we have, individuals with hearing loss are twice as likely to experience cognitive decline and dementia. Again, untreated hearing loss that we haven't applied any treatment for. Okay. So guys, what this all boils down to is what we term listening effort. It's pretty, makes sense. So what listening effort refers to is how hard the brain is having to work behind the scenes to connect the dots and process what you're hearing. So we know that if we can decrease a person's listening effort, that is the most meaningful impact in decreasing a person's risk for dementia. Okay? Yeah. And of the 7 risk factors for dementia, guys, 3 of them have to do with your hearing. And hearing loss itself is the #1 thing you can do to offset your risk factors for having dementia. The #1 thing you can do. To me, that's a no-brainer. Easy. Okay. All right, so the part of the presentation talking about elevating life. This statistic surprised me, but I will say anecdotally, I do see a fair amount of it in clinic where, and I think that it often goes under the radar for patients that with untreated hearing loss, risk of depression doubles. Think about it. Your world's getting smaller. Your connections are getting more strained. That's pretty powerful stuff. So back to our hope. Yeah, that's where we want to live. Okay. So let's see. I want to go back to our second action item because you got homework to do, guys, and I am a teacher. I want you to go to an audiologist that can not only test your hearing, but also provide a baseline of your cognitive function. So we now have testing, screening measures that it's kind of like a computer game, takes about 5 minutes, and we get some pretty compelling information about different areas of cognition. And that's been critical and very helpful in how we take care of our patients going forward. So with the testing we have now available, we're seeing significant improvement once we fit hearing devices in patients' memory. I don't know about y'all, but I can use all the help I can get. So that's always helpful, but also processing time, executive function, more. It's been remarkable. I mean, sometimes astonishing the changes that we see in patients. And now we have a way to quantify it. Okay, so with that, as we wrap up, and going back to that message of hope, right here, this data from the Lancet in 2023 definitively says correcting hearing loss with hearing aids reduces cognitive decline by almost 50%. What? And then also 32% lower prevalence of dementia in those with moderate to severe, which those are the patients that are at highest risk. So that's incredible news. All right. Okay, so wrapping up here, I want you to start thinking about, what does the best version of yourself look like? Because that's what we're after. We want you feeling confident in all your connections and conversations, nothing holding you back. Those relationships that are most meaningful to you, no barriers. That promotion at work, showing up in your profession at the highest level. It's incredibly important. So that's our ultimate goal and our ultimate aim here. And then what I wanted to do is give you just a quick blueprint of what to do next, how to get this done. So wherever you go for treatment, making sure that they ask the right questions so that they can put together a personalized assessment of your hearing health and provide that medical grade hearing exam. I do find that you can get hearing tests lots of places, but unless that is accurate and a good representation of your auditory system, any treatment that's based on that, if that's not right, kind of cooked before we even begin. So incredibly important to get that right. And that should be this much of the equation, but I see some wacky things out there, guys. They should also inform you, spend time educating what treatment options are available to you and why you're a good candidate for some and maybe not others. So you know exactly what's right for you. Let's see. Also, at Thrive, our focus is on exceptional brain hearing. So not just about making things louder. And I do see that a lot with patients who have hearing devices that say, they're working fine, but they may have been dragged into my office by a very well-meaning, loving family member or friend. No, they're not. And so often to the patient, they put devices in and, oh my gosh, things are louder, I'm hearing more. But when it comes to understanding speech, that's the benchmark for success. And I find so often, wherever you go, they're not doing any testing with the devices in your ear. And that should be the benchmark. That should be the outcome measure as to whether that treatment is effective or not. And you'd be surprised how very rarely that's done. And that's standard practice at our office. Okay, so again, not just louder, clear. Okay. All right, so at Thrive, our philosophy is not all about being right. We all like to be right, but what we want to do is take the time to ask the questions so we can learn all about you and so that we can get it right. We ask questions like, what's the most meaningful aspect of our work together? What does success of treatment look like for you? So we make sure that happens. I created Thrive so that our clinicians could spend the time necessary with our patients so that they could feel heard. Our main goal, restoring the connection between the people, the places, and things you love most. That's why I get up every day. And then that the people in your lives feel deeply seen and heard. So with that, I will say thank you. And I want you to know that you matter. And I have a beautiful ending here. So I want you to go back and think about those folks that I had you hold in your mind in the beginning. In addition to me standing here in front of you telling you you're absolutely worth it, I guarantee you they feel the same way I do. You deserve the best and nothing less. So with that, thank you, and I'll open it up for questions. Bat, go ahead.
I didn't realize until I was an adult that I had hearing loss as a child. In elementary school, and the kids would be whispering, and they'd lean over and whisper something to me, and I couldn't say what.
Sure.
Because I couldn't hear them. I didn't understand how they could hear whispers and why high-pitched tones really hurt.
Yeah.
How can we get the word out to adults to ask their children about these things. Cause
So I've
kids
got-
aren't gonna come home and say, hey, mom, I can't hear them whispering across the room.
Right. But I got really great news. In the early 2000s, most all 50 states, there came about a law that was passed that every child born in a hospital had to receive a newborn hearing screening. So I actually got to do those at one point. So we can identify babies at birth, whether there is the presence of hearing loss or not, so that we can intervene as quickly as possible and change the whole trajectory of that kid's life. So it used to be, like you said, it was often third grade before a child was identified with hearing loss. And by that time, we missed a lot. So thankfully, those days are fewer and further between. But I'll tell you, it happens. I find them. I've had 3 this year, and they are just outside that cutoff. They're in their early 30s. And from the pattern of their hearing loss, I know they've had it since birth. But because of the configuration of hearing loss, it can be that not that you can't hear, there can be certain frequencies that you hear very well, but some that you don't. And it's the kind of thing going back to, you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of times they would go under the radar. And so it does happen. So thankfully we got that safeguard in place. But simply getting a hearing test, I think it gets far little importance placed upon it in our regular checkups that it should. We should all have a baseline, because there's certain ear conditions that can happen like that. And unless we have a baseline to compare it to, a lot of times the ENTs are kind of throwing darts at what medicines are really going to be the right ticket for you. So if we have that baseline information, that gives them so much more direction as to how to help you and to get that hearing back in those cases. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have many cochlear clients?
So we do, we are a certified cochlear implant clinic. I myself do not specialize in CI, but my colleague, Dr. Haley Freeman, does. And so we see patients to do their mapping and programming. There are some pretty established centers in town that have been doing it for years and years, but we just identified a need. There were some barriers for patients to get services at those places. So we just wanted to, as much as we could, help so patients didn't have to go anywhere else if they didn't want to. So we can provide those services in the office. And it's pretty much Dr. Yon with UT Health. We are doing some studies, some research with him right now, but he's our main implant surgeon. And then we see his patients for mapping.
So it's an implant that goes into the brain?
It's into actually the cochlea, that seashell-shaped structure we looked at on the diagram. There's an electrical, an electrode that is surgically implanted into the cochlea. And so the hair cells are stimulated by electrical impulses, and that's how the brain gets the information and interprets what's heard. But it doesn't sound anything like what sound to be right now. The brain has to totally relearn. But the amazing thing is the brain is, so completely plastic, it can do it. It just needs the right time and training to be able to do so. It's amazing. It's amazing. Sure.
Okay, so between, and we can probably do a show of hands, this room's all gonna be guilty. Between rock concerts,
Sure.
working in, say, a warehouse environment with forklifts going clang and bang, and, those are pretty loud noises. And then just, like, right, blood pressure pills, blood pressure will give you tinnitus, no problem. Between just living our lives and then just general aging medical issues that pop up, we're all pretty much hosed. So,
Slide. All right. So,
I think take a room like this.
yeah.
There's no sound baffling whatsoever. It's all flat walls. So you get 4 or 5 conversations from Skip and I may be sitting here, but I might not hear what he's saying because somebody's laughing over here. 3 people are. I was in a seminar yesterday, and I had to get up and move because I had two chatty Cathys, and I'm just trying to pay attention to the guy. Yeah, and I'm like, this is a professional CPA seminar, and then it's like, you shut up, I'm
Right.
trying to listen to the speaker. And I had to move across the meeting.
We should come to one of our deals where we get
So,
100
I
people.
mean, it's one of those things that like, it's, other than avoidance of situations.
And I think what you're asking me too is that normal? Like,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, and those, I mean, to me, that is normal.
Right, and it shouldn't be. So you should be able to have a conversation between you two, and this room be full of, conversation babble, and you should be able to do it. It might be hard, but you shouldn't be like, well, I'm done.
Right.
So, my story with tinnitus, just to kind of relate for a second, is I've had tinnitus since I was a little girl. My dad didn't think you were listening to music unless the wind was rattled. And I can remember playing in the floor, a speaker taller than me, and Led Zeppelin coming out of it.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
that would turn off, my ears would ring. And I went to my mom and I said, "You hear that?" And she was, "What are you talking about?" So it was just always a sound I could hear that nobody else cared about. So just because you have tinnitus does not mean that there is that it's pathological. It's only when it impacts your quality of life in some way, sleep, concentration, your hearing, is when you need formal treatment for tinnitus. So some tinnitus can be normal, but the hearing part, your brain should not have to be working that hard. And the reality is what you're describing is just life. I mean, everywhere we go, there's traffic noise and, kitchen noise and all those things.
But short of doing, say, an implant or getting a hearing aid.
Yeah. Which
what-
is so
what
bad,
things can
I know.
people- What are things that people
Really
can
bad.
do to manage and improve their, manage and improve their hearing?
Okay, one, protect it. So even lawn work, yard, weed eating, all that kind of stuff. Start with protect it. I think you're asking like, how do we make it better? And hearing instruments fix it. If they're done well and they're done right, you should have no problem in those situations. So.
Great information.
Thank you.